Hi there, it's Harry here from Neuro Stream Marketing. One of the most common questions I get asked every single day is, we're running marketing, but we're not getting results. Why aren't we getting results with our marketing? So usually we take on new clients who ask this question. They say we've been working with very large agencies for a while, or we have in-house teams in marketing, or both. And the marketing was working at some point. However, it's not working anymore. Something fundamental has changed in the process. So the short answer of that is there's a lot of different aspects to the marketing. But I thought today what I do is talk about one of the main reasons why that I see every single day, and it's something that you can actually start working on right now, testing and changing. And usually that's the biggest impact that can actually change your results. Changing this one thing can quite easily 5x the results, 10x the results. At the same time, there is no silver bullet. There is no quick fix that I would say that can actually do things. I don't believe in that. At the same time, this is something that you can work on, be aware on, and start testing. And sometimes the initial test, you'll start to see a very big impact in results. So I wanted to talk about that, but also wanted to talk about some of these key aspects and give a bit of a personal intro, I guess, into my journey here. So I started Neuro Stream Marketing over 5 years ago. I used to work in very large organizations in marketing teams, for example, MasterCard. I've worked with Deloitte. I've worked with KPMG, both in Australia and New Zealand. I've actually lived in Germany, in Switzerland, in Indonesia, and currently work with clients all across the world and in these places. So I've worked across quite a few different industries, B2B, B2C, from pharmaceutical companies to financial services, professional services, consultancies, all the way to B2C e-commerce as well. And you start to see a lot of patterns and trends emerging. And the funny thing is, it's actually, not necessarily about the industry, your ads, your marketing, the technical side. It really just boils down to one very simple thing, I think, that you need to get right first before you start looking into those other aspects. And the challenge with marketing is there's hundreds and hundreds of different components to work on within your marketing, within your funnel. And it's very easy to get lost and confused in the detail, to not be able to see the forest for the trees. So focusing on the one simple thing first, I think, can really help line everything else up. So to save you the time, I'm just going to tell you what it is now. So when we think about marketing and talk about marketing, I think there are two key components in this day and age. Number one, you have the human component, which is really human interactions, one-on-one interactions with humans and salespeople, humans and brands, humans and websites and ads and visuals and creatives. The second component is really the technical side, which is everything that happens behind the scenes, everything from algorithms in LinkedIn, in Meta, in Google, statistics, data, landing pages, how your landing page loads. Is it fast enough? Is it serving correctly in all your key markets around the world, and so on? So you have the human component and the technical component. And the most common issue I see usually is actually in the human component, which is often what marketing teams and marketing managers are working with on a day-to-day basis. In other words, it usually boils down to, what is our business? What is our brand? What is our value proposition? If I were to sum all of that up, how do you describe your business brand in one sentence, a one sentence takeaway that you can say to me, or you can say to your ideal customer? This is who we are, what we do, and why you should consider us. If you can get that nailed down in the one sentence, that usually is the game changer, because that one sentence is the actual roadblock or sort of key point in the funnel, that if a user can't get past that, they're not going to consider your product. They're not going to give you a minute of their time, let alone an hour, or even time to actually go through your website, consider who you are, what you do, and if they want to actually use you and speak to a salesperson or buy your product online. So the critical moment in this day and age, in the attention economy that we're all fighting for attention, essentially, is to capture someone within the first 5 seconds. If you can't do that, you don't get the next 5 seconds, let alone the next hour or any form of relationship after that. The way to capture people in the first 5 seconds really comes down to the key value proposition, which is your one sentence. If you can get that right, it opens up the door to everything else. If you can't, unfortunately, it's game over. And some of the companies I work for, some very large companies, for example, in Germany, in Australia, in Indonesia, they have these huge funnels, huge landing pages, huge assortments of products. However, they haven't really tested the value proposition. And when they start testing these things, this one key sentence, which is on, for example, your ads, on your landing pages, on all of your key touch points, when they start testing that, you start to see big differences. If it's a good value proposition, very quickly you can see 2 times increase in results in terms of engagement, sometimes a 5 to 10x increase in engagement. That 10x increase in engagement can easily lead to a downstream funnel effect in terms of if you're getting leads or selling products or revenue, it can easily lead to a 30, 40, 50% increase in your revenue, because it's the downstream effect of that. But you can't get the downstream effect without getting the upstream elements right in the first place. So that's one of the most common challenges. It's really easy to work for. It's just one sentence. Ideally, you're targeting that aha moment where somebody reads it and says, okay, wow, I know exactly who you are, what you do, and why I should consider giving you some more of my time. And if you can really excite people and move them emotionally in the human elements and the human game that we are all a part of, that's enough for them to invest more time in you. And if you can get them to invest more time and energy actually considering your brand, your product, you're much more likely to get that downstream effect and increase in leads. Okay, so that's one of the main things I see. It's a very, very common issue. A lot of big agencies, a lot of marketing teams, they don't work on that. They get lost in the details. They don't see the forest through the trees. And this is very easy to do. Just write 5 different sentences, test them. You can even run them through things like ChatGPT, add some special offers, some incentives, find a competitor who's doing it really, really well, where you read their initial sort of welcome on their ads or their homepage, that initial sort of first impression, and you get blown away by it. So reworking those into a one sentence value proposition. You can easily test that on your website, on your landing page, even in your ads by looking at the engagement on those ads from that new sentence. At the end of the day, your sales team, and we've had this many times before, the sales teams will actually call up the marketing team and say, something has changed because we've got customers asking us about this new value proposition, this new offer, this new way of positioning the product. They've heard about it, they've read it, they're very excited, and they're asking the salespeople, how do we proceed with this? So when you're doing it right, you usually hear back from the downstream salespeople back to the marketing that this is what's working, is going well, because your customers are starting to actually talk about it. They're excited and they've been moved emotionally in terms of the human game. So if you can get the basics right, get the human game right, then you can look at the technicals. That's where we really come in. And we help marketing teams and agencies actually start testing these things and changing that. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to do, is link up the two different games, the human and the technical, not get lost in one or the other. But if you don't have the human right, it's very hard to get the technical. So that's the one big key takeaway. We're going to do a few more videos to talk about a lot of different things which we see in that process. So step 1 is getting that right. Step 2 is then moving on from there. But the beautiful thing is you can see results very quickly from this. And when you start working through these things and you have the basics right, you can very much build and scale and move things up from there. So I hope that was useful. I'm going to wrap it up now and we'll speak again soon. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you. Bye.